Violet Moller's 2025 book, Inside the Stargazer's Palace, is, on the surface, a book about the events leading up to the scientific renaissance. There are plenty of other books on this subject, but what Moller does particularly well comes from the framing she creates. Specifically, this work presents the era by exploring the various locations instead of trying to present a timeline of events. Early in my reading, I disliked this framing as it appeared to take away from the holistic narrative with a clear continuity. The early chapters don't make it immediately obvious where things are going. The book begins in Nuremberg, which Moller describes as a city of invention. The chapter seems to have a bit of a focus on the development of astronomical instrumentation in this city, particularly exploring astronomical clocks, globes, and other tools. But we're also introduced to the Fugger family, who became patrons of intellectual pursuit. The focus on instrumentation bleeds over into the second chapter, in which we're taken to Louvain. But here, the focus begins to shift towards the university in that city. Some familiar names begin to emerge, although they're not the ones we typically think of in terms of scientific history. Gerardus Mercator is one such example. This famous German is primarily known for his cartography, but he was also an adept hand at geography and cosmography. Even less well known is that Mercator was the student of the astronomer, mathematician, and physician Geoffrisius, which led to Mercator also producing scientific instruments, including some for Charles V. In this chapter, the book begins coming together as we start seeing the interplay between the various disciplines, the centers of knowledge, and the all-important patrons. In the third chapter, we're introduced to the famous astronomer, occultist, and alchemist John Dee and his property at Mortlake, where, finding England starved of vibrant learning of the continent, Dee attempted to build his own personal library, museum, and laboratory, foreshadowing what would become institutes of scientific progress later. At this location, and beyond, as the book does not always stay faithful to its premise of locations and instead sometimes follows its occupants and visitors around the world, particularly in this chapter, we're introduced to several other figures who sought out Dee's Palace of Learning. From there, we're taken to Kassel, where things truly begin coming together. There, it's explained how the court of Wilhelm IV pulled together many of the brightest minds and created a hub of scientific innovation. By this point, many of the characters we've been introduced to in the previous chapters start reappearing. It's at this point that the web that was crafted in prior chapters becomes evident, and the book really starts to shine, in my opinion, as Kassel truly felt like the first vibrant and buzzing hive of progress, and the book begins leaning ever further into astronomy as the primary topic, as opposed to things orthogonal to astronomy like art, general craftsmanship, and the politics and machinations of the rich and powerful who provided funding. The fifth chapter presents an additional example of this, with Tycho Brahe's astronomical castle, Uraniborg, on the island of Hven, gifted to him by Frederick II. As with before, it comes with a revolving door of figures we'd encountered previously, and the characters begin feeling more like old friends. Lastly, we're taken to Prague, in which everything seemingly comes together. As Moller writes, "As we draw near to the close of the 16th century, it starts to feel like all roads are leading to Prague. Instrument makers, astronomers, artists, botanists, and alchemists found themselves caught by the magnetic pull of Rudolf II's court, its reputation for cultural freedom and enlightened patronage." This statement is perfectly articulated and well explained as the instrument makers, the patrons, the innovators, and everything previously described comes together in the meeting of Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler, which led to the production of Kepler's most important work, Astronomy Nova. As the above quote seems to indicate, this feels like what the entire book has been building to. But Moller works in one final chapter. That chapter is surprising because it is a vision of Atlantis, or more specifically, Francis Bacon's version of Atlantis in his work, The New Atlantis. In it, he lays out his ideal vision for a prosperous civilization guided by piety, peace, and learning. Moller lays out this vision and then contrasts it with the civilization being built through the efforts just discussed, showing how many of this hypothetical civilization's key virtues have manifested in that era and have continued to develop in the centuries since. This prompts us to wonder at the title of the book. While each of the locations presented are centers of knowledge that built our astronomical understanding, perhaps what Moller is truly calling the Stargazer's Palace is the intellectual edifice we have constructed to understand the cosmos and our place within it.